Fillmore SE Russell. I'm here today with Shelby Fugate and Coach Fugate. Welcome to joining me. I appreciate you guys joining me. Are you? I know you wrestle in Russell County, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about Russell County.
Tiny reach out here, so if you join a team, you're automatically part of the family. So
Okay. All right. And you wrestled in Chattahoochee County before that, right? In Georgia.
yes, sir.
And so why the transition from Georgia to Alabama? Or did you guys move? I guess maybe that was.
We lived in the Russell County area for 4 or 5 years now, and but he worked at Chatco, so I just went with him because he worked there, and then he left to go get a degree in teaching, and so I just left and I just went to Russell County because it's a lot closer.
Got it.
Easier.
Well, you left Georgia right when they were sanctioning girls wrestling, right? I mean, you wrestled the last year when it was not sanctioned, and then you were gone. So, and you came really close to qualifying for state in Georgia through the guys, and then you come over to Alabama, and you're back to kind of square one again with it not being sanctioned in Alabama.
Yeah, I don't mind it though. I think that the females who are making it to state for just a normal boys state, and they make it, it's gonna boost the female sanctions a lot more, because my sophomore year, the girl that got qualified, and right after that they sanctioned in it because they're like, oh, they could do it too, so they just automatically just started a process. I think since we had 2 more girls go to Alabama, is gonna get up sanctioned, and it would have.
So you are now leaving Russell County and heading to the middle of Missouri for Central Methodist. But that's not the only transition you're making. You're also making a transition to freestyle. So
yes.
What do you what's that going to be like? Are you used to wrestling freestyle?
No, no, I'm not. I have another coach, Coach Long, and he has some really good insight on freestyle and everything. So we got quarantined and everything happened. He was teaching me some basic freestyle moves and then the gist of it. And then I've also been watching loads and loads and loads of meets on YouTube and everything, so I'm at least a tad bit prepared, but I don't know exactly what to expect when I get out on the mat.
Sure. So how long have you been wrestling?
This was my 5th year.
Your 5th year. So Coach, going over to you.
Yes.
Shelby came to you and said she was interested in wrestling, or you were kind of encouraging her? How did that process start?
Well, my oldest daughter, she wrestled.
Okay.
She started in 7th grade. I'm originally from Florida, so I didn't wrestle, but 22 years in the Army, Army combative. So I kind of had a gist of, took what I knew from the Army and threw it into wrestling. First couple of years, I just kind of watched and learned, because it was funny stories. When my oldest daughter came to, that said she wanted to wrestle, we're like, this is not what you watch on TV. And she's like, oh, I know, Dad. And so I was not really that big into wrestling, other than what you watch on TV. So that first couple of years, I watched her and started getting into the sport. And it was just a family sport. My oldest daughter wrestled, my 2 oldest sons wrestled, and then Shelby, my youngest, she wrestled. And so about year 3 of my oldest daughter is when I started getting coaching, but being active duty, I was just kind of a community coach, essentially. And then when we came to Fort Benning, Georgia, that's when I really got into the first year we were here, the first season, I was just a community coach. And then the next year, the school came to me and asked me to take over the program.
Very cool. Very cool. So you weren't surprised at all when Shelby showed a little interest in being on the mat?
No, not at all. When she was in seventh grade, we were in Utah, and they would not allow females to wrestle in the junior high at all. They actually told her to do a girl sport, volleyball or cheerleading, and she started writing to the superintendent.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but then I got orders and we came down here, so it kind of worked out just right for her. So her wanting to be in wrestling was not she's always been
I accidentally called the superintendent at my middle school and well, accidentally on purpose, and then we transferred anyway. But it happened.
Well, you had a passion for wanting to do it. That's great. Were there any other girls on the team at Russell County?
Two.
Two.
There was two at Russell County.
Okay. And
So.
do you get any questions from, your fellow students or anything like that? Like, you wrestle? Like, kind of a little surprised by that?
Oh, yes and no. They aren't as surprised that I wrestle because I also play football, so I'm already in a male-dominated sport. So they're like, "Oh yeah, she's in wrestling," but I don't think a lot of them expect me to like be somewhat decent at it until like every time we came home from a tournament and they announced this person placed here, I was always being named, or this person's going to state, I was being named, and then I think that's when they were like, "Oh wow, yeah, she's really good." But I don't know how. When I came to Russell County, they had already heard of me for wrestling, and everyone's like, "Yo, I heard you were amazing," and I was like, "Who are you?"
Well, that's good. That's good. So, Coach, back to you. We are working to sanction it in Alabama. Came up just short. I'm really interested in. Obviously you have Shelby and your oldest daughter wrestled. And I guess the question I have is more along the lines of trying to encourage coaches, to get on board and help sanction the sport. What can we do to kind of help that kind of happen?
That I do see right now as an issue because a lot of the coaches that you see around are, I hate to say it, but they're closed-minded. They don't see the sport as being, they see it as historical, as a male-dominated. I've actually, every year I've had a team, I've had a female, and I've always encouraged, when I recruited within the schools, I made sure I wanted them to know that everyone was welcome, because I do think it's a benefit to have females on the wrestling team. Their flexibility will outdo a male any day, and it helps everybody. I always told my team you have three aspects of wrestling. You got flexibility, you got stamina, and you got technique. You don't have to have all three to be a winner. You'll see the ones that, they're strong as an ox and they'll just dominate, but they have no stamina or no technique, and you'll still see them lose. And it goes through all at once. And I think trying to have coaches understand that, this is not just a male-dominated sport anymore. If you look at the college in wrestling or colleges with wrestling now, it's starting to open up. You start to see a lot of these colleges now. I see it all the time on Facebook and other social media, is that where this school has now started, a female wrestling program, which is a great thing, because I think, unfortunately, you do have to look at the collegiate level, because you have to give these females at the high school level somewhere to go, because, if I'm wrestling in high school and I'm good at it, what am I going to do after high school? Is it, do I just do a wrestling club or something? You have to give them something to strive for. And that's where I think a lot of coaches are just unfortunately closed-minded, because they don't think, oh, it's just a girl, she's weak, she's not going to be able to do it. And that's just a wrong, thought process.
Yeah, well, and, it's amazing to me because, we've got Helen Maroulis and Adeline Gray and, world champions, Olympic champions. And, back when I coached, in 2000, and before that, that wasn't really established. But, over the last 20 years, those women have made significant strides. The numbers of girls who are interested in participating has skyrocketed. And yet it feels like we have to work to encourage the coaches to kind of be open to sanctioning it so girls can wrestle girls or having the girls on the guys' team. So, yeah, I'm just really, really interested. Yeah.
It seems to be a problem, and you listen to a lot of parents too. Cause my wife, she's extremely, she's a wrestling mom, and she's sitting in the stands, and she's listening to other parents around talk, and you hear them say, well, if a girl beats a guy, well, he let her, or it's just going to be nothing, and it's terrible. I mean, it was funny for me, one being a father, but two being a coach.
Right.
When she went and you watch these boys cry, they literally cried because they got beat by a girl, because it's not them losing. And that's where you start. I mean, that's just where these girls are fighting more than just, recognition. They're fighting, oh, well, if you won, he lets you win. Or, if you beat him, you see their team belittling that individual, which I've seen other male wrestlers that when she beat them, they quit wrestling. We didn't see them anymore because it was because of they took so much flack from their own teammates and their coach. And that's where it kind of upsets me and it just aggravates me to see that kind of, where's sportsmanship within it? When she goes to a tournament and the other females I've had on my teams over the years, they won or lost. You can start seeing they make camaraderie with these students. And those are where, wrestling is a bonding sport. Yes, it's an individual, but it's a team. When you go out, they make lifelong friends from, kids that are all across the states that they're wrestling. And she still keeps with individuals that she's wrestled in Georgia that are literally on the other side of the state of Georgia that she's still friends with. And the same thing with Alabama. She has friends now all over the state from wrestling. That I don't think a lot of people understand is this is just, it's a camaraderie and a family, sport. And it just, when people belittle them, it pisses me off. It's
literally that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
That I completely understand. I have been there myself. So, so as we wrap this up, Shelby, if you have other guys at Russell County or girls at Russell County that are interested in wrestling, what do you kind of tell them? How do you encourage them to come out for wrestling?
I always just say, go ahead and try it, because you always regret the things that you don't try. You might make a mistake and, you might regret the mistake that you did, but still you will feel something, like some gratification of you actually came out and tried to do something. And so whenever I have girls message me or anybody message me about joining wrestling, they were like, well, what if I'm not good at it? What if I get hurt and everything? I'm like, well, you're never going to know until you try. And that's the only thing I can really tell everyone is just don't sell yourself short until you actually attempt and try to do something. And that's where I see a lot of people fail at. They give up before they even start. And I think we just got to get past that. You got to think more of yourself. You got to be more confident, and when you start being more confident in yourself is whenever you're going to start succeeding in everything.
Well, that's fantastic. I agree with you completely. I look forward to following you at Central Methodist out in the middle of Missouri. Wish you the best of luck next year, and make sure you stay in touch with us, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. All right.